Hello chess friends and welcome to Zarov's chess channel and welcome to the round 18 of the TCEC superfinal between the two top engines Leela C0 and Stockfish. But before we talk about some chess, I wanted to say something. It doesn't have anything to do with chess. I wanted to say that I'm really glad that this series Game of Thrones is over, because I can now focus again on chess, not waiting all of the series to come. And I really don't like to watch this series because I lose many time. I simply don't like it, and I started to watch this series, and of course I had to watch it till the end, and I'll never watch series again, I can promise you that. Okay, maybe I'll watch the prequel of the Game of Thrones, but okay. As said, I'm really glad now we can focus again on chess. And today I wanted to show you, as said, the game 18. Before this round, Leela C0 managed to win a game also. So before this round, Leela was 1 point ahead of in front of Stockfish, but I didn't want to show that game. It's a really long game. I think I would need an hour in order to explain all of the moves. So today, as said, we have a very nice King's Indian game played by Leela. We have the so-called Bayonet attack, which is, I think, really one of the best ways to handle the King's Indian. And I tried to play the Bayonet attack today, and I had really good success in some blitz games, because I usually play the same-ish attack or the 150 attack against the King's Indian, or the so-called Barry attack. But today I wanted to try, because I was really impressed by this game of Leela C0. I wanted to try the Bayonet attack, and as said, I had a really good success. So let's see now what's all about this Bayonet attack of the King's Indian. So we have here d4 by Leela, knight on f6, c4, g6, knight on c3, bishop on g7, and now e4, and of course d6 preventing this. E5 idea is still common theory, so there are many lines you can play as black and as white, the King's Indian. So if you're familiar with my channel, I've explained the King's Indian from black's perspective, and I've explained one particular line how you can maybe play against the so-called Bayonet attack. So if you want to see it, I'll show you the link at the end of this video, so you can watch this Bayonet attack from black's perspective. So here, knight on f3, we have castling, bishop on e2, and now e5. The most aggressive way. We have, of course, the possibility to play this so-called exchange variation with some queen sacrifices. But you see, if you take out this knight on e4, with the knight on e5, this pawn, so it doesn't bring you so much. It leads really into equality. It's even a better game here for black, I think. So this exchange variation, as said, is, I have explained it also in the King's Indian series, but just I wanted to show you also one particular line that can be played in the King's Indian defense. So here, knight on c6 was played. This is always sort of a challenging move. Now white has to decide what to do in the center, and the most common and the most natural move here is the move d5 to gain some space. You see, white has already occupied the center with this d5 move. The d5 is very well protected, and here, after knight on e7, we have now again the so-called block center. I always wanted to point you out, because it's really an important strategical element of chess games. So when you have the so-called block center, these pawns are always showing you the direction of the attack, so it means white will probably create an attack here on the queen side with the moves b4, c5, a4, and similar ideas, and black will try maybe knight on e8 or knight on d7 ideas, and of course we'll try the pawn breakthrough with the move f5. So these are the common ideas. So here we have the so-called Bayonet attack with the immediate move b4, and there is this line if you try immediately to push the pawn on a5, and it seems, of course, that because you want to stay with the flexibility with these two pawns, it seems that you have to push the pawn on b5 here, because you cannot play a3, because you get a takes b4, and of course you can take because here of this attack by the rook. So if you play here b5, you see it means that black can play this move b6, and black will really solve all of the problems on the king side. And as said, we want from white's perspective to play the move c5, and now it's not so possible because with b6 and d6 we have really stopped the potential advance of the pawn on c5. It means now that we have now the situation in which black can be flexible and try his common idea with the move f5. So that's why you see after a5, one of the best ways for white is to play bishop on a3. After a takes b, bishop takes on b, and if you try to block out this potential c5 pawn breakthrough, we can simply go a4. You can try maybe knight on h5, but now rook on e1. If you try knight on f4, we can hide with the bishop here on f1. So here, if you try f5, we can immediately create a pawn breakthrough with a5. We have b takes a5, and now bishop takes on a5. And if you see now this position, I think white is really better because we have already weakened the queen side. Here we have also possibilities to push the pawn on c5. We have also possibilities to play knight on b5 with an immediate attack on c7. So you see, I think white is a little bit faster in this attack. So that's why here after b4, well, Stockfish decides to go knight on e8. And this is also a good idea because with the move a5 you're weakening a little bit your pawn structure on the queen side. So here Stockfish decides to not weaken the queen side with any pawn move. So we are waiting just white to play his pawn assault here on the queen side and go for our own idea with the move f5. So here c5 was played. Of course, we want to break the position in around this d6. This d6 pawn is the main target. So now maybe an idea would be a4, then bishop on a3, and again this move knight on b5, really challenging this d6. Of course, with some preparations, maybe to play the rook on c1. So as said, this bayonet attack is really sort of a clear line flow for white because you don't have threats so far, and you basically play the most natural moves here. So for those who have maybe troubles to play against the King's Indian, I think the bayonet attack is a really good one, a good choice that you can try against the King's Indian. As said, it has really tactical possibilities, but you see in this game by Leela that Leela will really calm the position. And I myself, I'm also a King's Indian player as black, and what I always hated the most is the position in which white really calms the position. So I love this tactical battles in which I have clear ideas how to attack, how to maybe make some sacrifices. But when the position in the King's Indian, which is really a tactical game, when the position gets too static, I really don't like it, because white is always in an advance, and you see Leela's idea will be this really positional approach of this bayonet attack. So here f5, we have knight on d2. This is also a common idea because we want to have a very nice battery here on like squares. We are not allowing here black maybe to make some progress with the pawns, and here we are also challenging this this potential bishop on g4 move. So it's really battle on like squares, and we don't mind even after potential moves as f4. We could really maybe go even try to trade off this like square bishop, because this like square bishop is not a good one because we have this pawns on like squares, and then black will continue this the game with this bishop on dark squares, and it means the bishop would be blocked out by its own pawns, and still we have the possibility to play this bishop on a3 idea and create this attack on this d6. So you see this common f4 move in this orthodox lines of this King's Indian. It makes only sense when white hasn't made so much of a progress on the queen side. Here, as said, you see white is really faster on the attack, so this f4 creates a certain staticity in the game, and you don't want to do that. Here it's really hard now, you see, to push the pawns here on g5, h5 in order to make our pawn assault on the king side. So f4 here it's not a possibility. So here knight on f6 was played by Stockfish, and now a5. Simply going straight forward. You see f takes e5 ideas doesn't bring you so much. Again, we can really fix the position, create a blockade against this advanced pawn on e5. So here that's why Stockfish tried bishop on h6, and you see this bishop is always sort of a weakness, but you don't want to get you don't want to give up this bishop for a knight so far, because if you do that, then you will have dark square problems around the king. Your g7 square will be really a weakness. So but what you want to do is maybe after potential knight on c4 move, then you can really trade it off. It doesn't matter. You have you got rid of your weak bishop, which was blocked out by its own pawn. So and you got rid of it for a good bishop, which had good diagonals here with possibilities to play it, as said, on here on this a square on a3. So here it would be a really good continuation for black. So that's why a5, creating immediate attacks. You see Leela doesn't lose any tempos, because as said, we have this opposite side attacks because of the pawn structure in the center. So it means as white is going to continue the attack on the queen side, and black is of course continuing the attack on the king side. But you see Leela hasn't lost a tempo so far. We're really making some progress, and here king on g7 was played. This is now sort of a slightly disadvantage, because here maybe now Leela Stockfish could have taken now the bishop on the knight on d2. After bishop on d2, here you can really simplify the position with knight takes on e4, knight takes, and f takes e4. So this will be another possibility, because here with this a5, again, it doesn't bring you so much because you have already put again a pawn on dark square. So it means it's not so good. It's again blocking out a little bit the bishop. So here I think it's perfectly fine to play as black. You can have the possibilities maybe to play knight on f5 and fixing the knight on d4. Okay, but here after king on g7, Leela makes also a slightly inaccuracy with the move f3, which allows now Stockfish to go into the game with bishop on e3, king on h1 was played, and now fixing the bishop on d4. And now bishop on b2, of course, protecting the knight. We have now g5. And okay, the idea is to crack the position here with moves as g4, of course, also with possibilities to play first h5. So we're creating sort of a pawn storm on the king side. Of course, Leela is creating her pawn storm on the queen side, and now queen on c2. And the good thing about white's position now that white has really finished the development, here f takes e4 was played, and now knight takes on e4. And again, we have sort of a blocked position. I think Leela has managed to stop really black's attack. Now the position is really fixed because we have really a good control of the square e4, and still we have the possibility to push the pawns here on b5, b6, and similar ideas. So bishop on f5 was played, and now queen on d2, getting out of this diagonal and also attacking this pawn on g5. So that's why h6 was played, and now a6. This is also I think a slightly inaccuracy, which was analyzed by my engines here. So a6. Here you can really, I think, simplify the position with knight takes on f6. After rook takes on f6, really knight on e4, really cementing, now challenging this bishop. So bishop on b2, queen takes, and now rook on f8, and now simply rook on d1, here creating again supported pawn here on d5, and still have a really nice flexibility. The problem is if black takes this knight on e4 and tries maybe sort of a knight outpost on f4, it's really not a problem, because we have still the possibility to play the move g3, and it restricts this knight's ability to play. Still, continuing the game, which is the main advantage for white here with the flexibility on the queen side. So I think the bishop is here better. We have also the possibility, of course, bishop on g4, bishop on f5 or e6, so we can really play in bishop outpost here. So as I said, here I think this positional trade of pieces with knight on f6 would be an idea, but okay, a6, which is really now challenging. Of course, you don't want to take b takes a6 because you get then rook takes on a6, and you're continuing the game with a very weak a7 pawn. So c takes d6 was played by Leela. Now we have c takes d6. Now comes this move, knight on f6, rook takes on f6, and now rook on c1. And now Stockfish plays this move, bishop on c3. I don't like it, because you can simply wait, because of course you're going to trade this bishop for something, but you can simply wait. If you can play maybe bishop on g6, or if knight on b5, then you can simply take bishop on b2, queen takes on b2, and maybe knight on d5. Okay, it's dangerous. These are two weak pawns. The queen is aiming on the king, but I think you have tactical possibilities to defend here. Still, you have a good bishop on g6, which is a good protector of the king. And of course, you have to be careful here, but here a simple bishop on c3, and the bishop was not even attacked by another piece. Here, simply giving up the bishop pair in this stage of the game. Bishop takes, rook takes on c3, and this bishop is really now a monster. We have some really tactical possibilities, of course, if the position allows it, to play maybe f4, because this bishop is aiming on the king, on the rook, and I think it only needs the position to get open, and then of course it's a completely winning game for white. So I don't know. As said, I don't like this bishop on c3 idea here. At least you could get rid of this bishop on b2, but okay. Bishop takes, rook takes, and now rook takes on c8. And the most important thing is that black has lost really the battle on the only open file, on the c file. Now rook takes on c8, queen takes, and now rook on c1. You see, we have the bishop pair. We have occupied this c file. We can really fix the position maybe around the square c6. This pawn is really good protecting. You cannot, from black's perspective, you cannot play, of course, some pawn moves here, because if you try g4 or e4, of course e4 is really bad. But if you try something like g4 just in order to open somehow the position, then you get f4, and it opens again this very nice diagonal for the bishop. So I don't like the position for black here anymore. Queen on d8 was played, getting out, and now b5 here, a perfect restriction. We have now also the possibilities, if the position allows, to maybe get rid of this queens, get rid of this rooks or something, and try maybe a bishop sacrifice. If you could just imagine, if you play something like bishop takes on b6, then a takes b6, and then we can maybe make progress with this a pawn, because this knight is too far away, and this bishop is also not so well placed. It's only a good defender of this diagonal, but it would be hard for this bishop to battle against the potential promotion of this pawn on a8. So rook on f7 was played, getting at least with the rook out of this diagonal, and here king on g1. Also very nice positional move. You see, we don't want to have any threats maybe to get checkmated on the first rank. Now the king gets more active, and here bishop on h7 was played. h3, again, sort of a prophylactic move. We are not allowing any pawn moves here for black. Here it's really hard for black to cement the knight. As said, we can always play maybe something like g3 in order to restrict this knight's ability to play. But if the knight even comes out here on the square f4, we can still play maybe bishop on f1 and restrict again the knight's ability to play. So when you're playing against with the bishop pair against the knight and the bishop, you should really try and restrict this knight's ability to play, because then you can really play actively with your bishops, which is really one of the rules. I have explained it in some of my videos in my Basics in Chess series. So here knight on f5 was played, and now rook on c6, cementing the knight on a very nice square. You see again this tactical possibilities, maybe to play f4 after g takes, then we can simply take with the queen because the bishop is aiming on the king. So here queen on f6 was played. Maybe now for Stockfish, an idea would have been here after queen on f6 and now bishop on d3. Here Stockfish plays bishop on g6 to try somehow to compete and try to make maybe make some perpetual moves. But I like this knight on g3 idea here for black, getting rid at least of one bishop, because then black doesn't have any more the bishop pair. If takes, then here queen on d3. Okay, we can go with the king on g7, but then we can really maybe try and fix the knight here on d4, because at least this pawn would be protected. But still, again, white's position is a little bit better, because this activity of this rook is really huge one, and it's really hard for black to attack this rook on c6. This rook on c6 is really annoying here. It's really stuck there, but at least one of the ideas could be to get rid of this light square bishop, because the light square bishop was a good one here. But again, here Stockfish played bishop on g6, now queen on b4. You see now the problems. This d6, as said, the bayonet attack is basically an attack against this d6 pawn, so you see the d6 pawn is really a weakness here. Rook on d7 was played, queen on e1. Now we have also some tactical possibilities. The idea, of course, here is to take maybe with the rook on d6 and then taking out the pawn, and black will lose the queen. So that's why king on f7, getting out finally out of this dark squares. The bishop was really dangerous here. Bishop on e4, now fixing the position, and now knight on e7, rook on c4. We have king on g7, and now queen on c3, queen on f7, and now very nice move, rook on c7. This now really is basically a game over. You'll see why here for black, because knight on g8 was played. We have bishop on g6, and here king on g6. If you try something like, there is this tactic, if you try something here like rook on c7, then you get, of course, queen on f7, bishop takes on f7, rook takes on c3, bishop takes on c3, and if you take with the king, you have really solved the problems, because you can pause the video and try to find the best move. It's a winning move, and I really love this move. It's the move bishop on a5, and you see, if you take, then there's no way that this knight will stop these pawns from promotion. So you see, really tough things here for black to handle, because the c file was really an important one to handle. Here rook on c6 again played here. King on g7, bishop on a3. You see, we're simply playing on this d6 weakness. Queen on d5, but it doesn't matter here. We can simply go for the trade of rooks. And here queen on c6 was played, queen takes on c6, now rook on c6, and here again we can take out this pawn on d6, which is the main weakness. King on f7, bishop takes on d6, rook on e8, and bishop on a3. This is a completely winning position now for white, because we have now the possibilities to play with the rook, taking out this pawn. If the knight moves, we can take this pawn. So but in the continuation, rook on a8 was played here, bishop on b2. This is also a weakness, so here knight on e7 was played, rook takes on h6, knight on f5. I'm not going to explain now all of these tactical possibilities, but I hope you realize that this bishop is really too powerful here now. Rook on c6, now knight on e7 was played, rook on d6, here knight on f5, now finally rook on d5, knight on e3, take rook takes the pawn on e5, knight on c4, and okay, rook on e2. But now rook on d8 was played, rook on c2, knight on knight on d6, and now finally bishop on c1. The knight took the pawn on b5, but now we can simply take out this pawn, and these three pawns are of course unstoppable. And although the game was continuing to move 74, I hope you realize that this is really completely winning here for white. So Leela managed to win the game, and it was a really nice attack of this bayonet attack against the King's Indian defense. So as said, I really love this bayonet attack against the King's Indian. So for those who have really troubles to play against, I really tried out. If you have success, of course there are sidelines, there are many sidelines of this opening, many tactical possibilities also for black, so be careful. But you see there is this clear line of this opening, because let's go back, you got really a fast attack with this move b4. So you saw with the move a5 here, this continuation. So here b6, a4. This is the main idea, to make really progress as fast as you can on the queen side and really weaken black's queen side. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Meanwhile, you can watch this video that I've promised you, this bayonet attack from black's perspective, and you can also watch my other commented chess games played by top engines, and you can also watch my best chess games of all time if you want to see the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history. And you can also subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.